Welcome to Next Femme Leaders, a podcast for conscious, ambitious women who want to make a real impact with their careers without losing themselves or their well-being in the process. I'm Isabel, your host, a leadership coach with over 13 years of corporate experience. I know how hard it is to lead in systems not built for us, especially if you're introvert, kind, intuitive, or spiritual. So here, each week, I will share tools that blend the practical and the mystical, the feminine and the masculine, so that you can lead with clarity, confidence, and authenticity. If you know in your bones you're meant for much more, you are in the right place. So let's start. Welcome, beautiful woman, to our episode number 6. I have been sharing on Instagram how I have discovered this really beautiful new feeling. Receiving your messages every week, telling me that you're listening to each episode, and that I have become part of your routine, your walks, your commute time. I just love this journey we have been taking together, and it feels sacred and connected. And for me, discovering this is actually a new feeling, which I'm very grateful for. So please keep it doing. And before we dive into today's topic, I'm very excited to share that we have officially launched the Leadership Accelerator for Women. This is an 8-week group program hosted on Maven and designed for mid-career women with around 5 to 15 years of experience, especially if you have recently stepped into new leadership responsibilities, you are navigating more visibility, or are feeling ready for the next move. During this program, we'll work on career clarity, authentic confidence, mastering executive presence, communication, and making your work more visible so that you can lead with more ease and alignment. We start in October and there is a special early bird discount this month. So if this sounds like the right next step for you, I would love to invite you to my free masterclass on Monday, 14th of July at 5 p.m. Central European Time. We'll explore leading with confidence, what's really holding you back, and I promise you it's not what you think. So the link is in the show notes and I really hope I will see you there. And now, let's dive into today's episode, a topic that many of you requested. And if you are wondering how can you request a topic, I will leave in the show notes the link to the survey where you can ask for a topic. And you ask for it in different ways. How do I manage my energy around draining colleagues? How do I deal with people who are different from me? How do I navigate with big egos around me? And although I want to address some practical tools to manage your energy in the next episode, today I want to go to the root of the issue. Those moments when someone annoys you, doesn't respect you, or takes you for granted. And I see this as a sacred opportunity to bring spirituality into the most ordinary situations. And this requires honesty. Finally, I'm on my period as I record this, curl up with a tea, and from a spiritual perspective, this is a time of putting things in order. A time when we are more intuitive, more in touch with our truth, and if we use it well, it can be a doorway to wisdom. And there is a quote I love, "Honesty will set us free." So maybe this episode won't be exactly what you expected, but might be exactly what you need. And in the future, if you send me a situation, I would love to explore it together here in the podcast. I feel that lessons land deeper when we have real stories. But for today, I'll share one of my own. One that also mirrors the kind of work I do with women in my coaching programs. And I always tell them, it's not the situation that causes you suffering, but the way you relate to it. And I feel sometimes we only understand this when we feel better about the situation. Whenever someone frustrates us or triggers us, I like to bring in the mirror law. This is a concept from spiritual and personal development work, which I find deeply relevant for leadership. And the core idea is that our external reality acts as a mirror, reflecting back to us what is within. So we tend to attract people and circumstances that resonate with our own inner landscape, whether this is positive or negative. The mirror law is composed by 4 principles. The first one, what bothers you in others is a reflection of something you are rejecting in yourself. Second one, what hurts you reveals a repressed or unprocessed parts of yourself. Third one, what you admire in others is a reflection of qualities within you or ones you long to cultivate. And the last one, what others criticize in you that doesn't hurt you or land is just a reflection of their projection. Recognizing that our external experiences are a reflection of our inner world encourages us to take responsibility for our thoughts, feelings, and actions. And in essence, the mirror law is a tool for self-awareness and personal growth, encouraging us to look inward to understand and transform our outer reality. So let me bring you in a personal story. And for this, I went back into my journal from a few years ago, during a time that I was really struggling with a colleague. So I could relate to the situation you were actually asking. So let me put you a little bit in context. My colleague was local to the country I was living in, male, and in my eyes, working far less than me, and yet receiving more recognition. At that moment, I had a big ambition, and I wanted to grow in my career. And I didn't feel the same from him. I saw him as arrogant, with big ego. So when you ask me how to deal with egos at work, this memory came straight to my mind. And these moments, as difficult as they can feel, are beautiful invitations to heal and to bring the divine into everyday situation, just like we talked in episode 4. So back then, I did an exercise that really helped me. But before I began, I made some space for radical honesty, kind of a little ritual to go deep. And then I wrote 2 columns in my journal. In the first column, I wrote, what's annoying or hurting me about this person? And in the second column, I wrote, what is this showing me about myself? And here is what came up. In the first column, I wrote, he doesn't respect how I live my life. And I dug into, what's it really reflecting about me? And digging into, I realized I wasn't respecting my own path. I kept second guessing myself for making choices that looked different from the norm. I hadn't followed a traditional path. While many people my age were getting married, I was spending my weekends traveling around Europe, single, living the expat life. I was in a team of locals with very different priorities. And though I consciously chosen that path, I used to doubt it all the time, instead of fully owning it. Then I wrote, he is mediocre, doesn't work hard. And when I asked myself what was this reflecting, I acknowledged that it was reflecting what I now call my high achiever saboteur. I was so afraid of mediocrity that I couldn't allow it in others or in myself. I had a constant push for perfection, and it was exhausting. And especially, I was putting my worth on something that was outside myself, such as my career. I was placing my value on my career achievements and advancement. And that's kind of a very dangerous place to be, because then we are only happy when everything is going well in our careers, but we feel really frustrated when things are slow or when things are different from what we want. And in some way, it's something we cannot control. So we're giving really our value and our worth to something that we cannot control. And in this way, we're disempowering ourselves. And this is a saboteur I found very often in the women I work with, that are high achievers and that are excellent. But this overuse can really play against us. And I was really not accepting that he was having other priorities, and that I could also have cycles in my life where work was not my main priority. Then I wrote, He's arrogant. And this one really hurt to admit, but this showed me that I wasn't fully accepting people who were different from me. Somewhere deep inside, I believe my way was better. And I'll tell you a little story. A few years ago, I asked one of my best friends to tell me my biggest strength and my biggest weakness. And I'm really grateful for her response, even if it was tough to hear. She said, I always felt like you thought you were better than others because you pursued higher education. Ouch! That one really hard to hear, but there was so much truth on it as well. And I often tell my clients, watch out for the spiritual ego, because once we have worked on ourselves, sometimes it's easy to think that we know better. In the same way that once we have been highly educated, sometimes it's easy to feel that we are better, and in some ways a message that we receive from society. But that's not really our place. Everyone is allowed to their own path. Next statement was, he doesn't value me, he's afraid of my growth. And when I dig into what this showed me was that I wasn't valuing myself. I was actually afraid of shining my own light. And I'm talking about a moment where I was way less visible than now. I'm less way owning of who I was. I also wrote he's acting like a victim. And then this point right back to me. I was seeing myself as a victim of the situation and not taking full responsibility of my own feelings. And at the end of the journaling session, I wrote, he's someone with fear, just like me. He's someone who regrets some of his decisions, just like me. He's someone who doesn't allow himself to enjoy life, who believes he's a victim of his circumstances, just like me. And then I decided the key things I had to work on were: first one, accepting my own shadows, and that way accepting others without trying to change them. The second one, releasing the victim role and stepping into my power. And the third one, strengthening my self-worth, so I didn't rely on others for validation. And that day I understood this annoying colleague wasn't my enemy. He was actually my teacher. And I always say the best teachers aren't sitting in the Tibet. They're showing up in your daily life if you're willing to pay attention. And once I stopped trying to change him and brought compassion into the situation, for myself and for him, our relationship got so much better. Because usually people feel when you stop judging them. That shift in energy is powerful. It reminds me of a client who had a beautiful vision for her team. She was seeing an empowered team, contributing, appreciated, where everybody mattered and everybody felt appreciated. But when we explored her thoughts, she admitted, they are so slow. I always had to do everything myself to get it done right. And my question was, do you think your team will feel empowered and appreciated if you are thinking they are slow? Probably not. But when we shift her internal narrative, everything starts to change. Because even when we don't say things out loud, people feel them. And this is a journaling exercise I absolutely love doing, and I still use it every time someone triggers me. Because if it hurts, it has a message. If it was not reflecting something in yourself, it wouldn't hurt, and probably you wouldn't even attract it. Now, let me be honest, this requires to be radical honest with yourself. And this is not easy. This mirror work, you can use it with anyone. A colleague, a partner, it's great for family, or even the guy you dated who triggered everything. I will leave you the prompts in the show notes, and I'm really curious how does it land for you. Especially if you're navigating big egos right now. I will invite you to ask yourself, what is this showing me about myself? Maybe your ego shows up too in other ways. Or maybe you're holding back from owning your brilliance because you're afraid of being too much. At one of my events, we did an exercise where women had to say everything they were proud of, on purpose. Because I'm aware that celebrating ourselves doesn't come easy. We have been constantly repeating that it's not good to mention your successes. And afterward, one woman told me, it was so eye-opening that I caught myself judging other women while she was speaking. I was thinking, who does she think she is? And that's where healing begins, when we bring consciousness to the unconscious. Those shadows we see in others, they are often traits we were told as girls were not okay to be. Not okay to be too loud, not okay to be too selfish, not okay to be too proud, not okay to be too much, to take too much space, not okay to be too slow. When we reject those parts in ourselves, we can't help but be triggered by them in others. But when we accept them, something softens. When I accepted that sometimes I can be selfish, I can be arrogant, that I have been those things, and I'm still worthy of love. I'm still worthy of everything I want. Then I became more compassionate with others and with myself. And surprisingly, I became more confident too, because I stopped trying to be the perfect woman. That unrealistic standard is one of the biggest saboteurs of our goals and of our inner peace. One of my clients once told me, if I allow that part of myself, I'll become a monster. But that's not actually how it works. When you accept, you heal. Because healing doesn't come from more fear or more shame or more hate to those parts. It comes actually from being in love and acceptance from those parts of you. So next time someone triggers you, I would like to ask yourself, what's annoying me about this person? And what is that reflecting in me? And I love imagining turning the mirror gently towards myself, bringing courage, bringing honesty, and bringing love. That's really where transformation begins. Okay, beautiful woman. As you know, I want to keep this sweet and short. But I'm so curious to know, what is one insight you're taking from this episode? So please let me know, I would love to hear. So thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you like what you heard, let me know on Instagram at nextfemleaders or send your thoughts and reflections to info@isabelfonseca.com. I truly would love to hear from you. And if it resonates with you, I would be so grateful if you left a review or a comment so that it helps more conscious, ambitious women to find this space. And please don't keep it for yourself, send it to another woman you know who needs to hear this message today. See you next Monday at 8 a.m. Until then, keep leading with your truth and remember, you already are an ex-fem leader.